my fellow readers. This is iDark Symphony 777 with another fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts on the story. Finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the fan fiction I'm reviewing today is Professor Arc 2, Headmaster Arc by Kouro Ron. This is a RWBY fan fiction, and I'm actually going to make this quick because if you actually saw my previous video where I talked about Kouro as an author, I kind of summed up my thoughts on that. Well, at least a big thought on this story in that video. So so this one's going to be quicker than most. But to summarize, a big problem I have with this story is this story is massively inconsistent. This story has to be the most inconsistent, incoherent story I've ever read. So, and we'll go about that at least as we go along. So when it comes to the plot, this story takes place about a week or two after the events of Professor Arc has ended. John and the rest of the members of the Beacon staff are trying to rebuild the school, and they have to use John's status as the savior, the person who stopped Cinder's invasion from that. It is a nice use of using a theme to tell a story. In this particular instance, public perception, at least when it relates to the world of politics. You know, you can be the most scummy person in the world, but as long as you carry yourself and the press is on your beck and call to at least try and make you look better than it seems, it all plays in the idea of public perception, of like trying to perceive yourself as better than you actually are. And I think that would be a nice theme to tell the story if the story was actually focused on politics of trying to repair the school. But no, the school building thing, fixing it up, only plays a part in like the first 15 or so chapters, and then it just becomes a very generic adventure plot of trying to help other people and put a stop to Salem and try and defeat her sort of deal. It loses all the nuance that the beginning chapters had in favor of just something just so bog standard. It got boring, and the inconsistencies with the story really didn't help out. Like, okay, so let me actually get the page up, bro. Yeah, here we are. So this is just an example of inconsistencies in the story. At this point in the story, Cinderfall has gone completely off the deep end. She's declared herself. She's somehow tricked herself into falling in love with John Arc, but also the fact that she's mentally convinced herself that anything that happens is like a part of his master plan. So when they capture Cinderfall, Arthur Watts cooks up a scheme to try and get everyone away so that way they can grab her and bring her back to Salem. Cinder is convinced that this is part of John's plan, and so she proceeds to kill Arthur. Then all the teachers and stuff, they are completely confused about this situation. So Roman drags John aside before he goes to talk to Cinder. It's like, agree with everything so he can get a better understanding of why she did this. So he goes inside, talks to Cinder. Cinder reveals that she believes that John is this glorious mastermind who can outsmart literally everyone and can even beat Salem. It's like, I'd rather stay with you than stay with Salem or go with Atlas because you're smarter than me. That means you must be smarter than Salem. And doing all these mental gymnastics to try and schmooze up to John. And John is like helplessly agreeing with them because I just can't. I have to actually agree with her. and so they have to bring her along. I think this is at the point where Atlas is about to be assaulted, so they're actually going to Atlas to try and put a stop to the white thing because Adam assaulted a mining SDC mining rig, and we get this little tidbit of thought from John, where he basically says he wasn't sure what he'd done specifically to feed her delusion in the first place, despite the fact Roman literally told her just agree with everything she says, which is feeding into her delusions. And after this, we get and then he basically said, "Oh, the only thing he can do is suggest it to his plan, which is feeding into delusions." You see the disconnect, and this is literally no. This is a screenshot I took from my phone of this part of the chapter. This is one pair. This is one part of a paragraph, which shows you how inconsistent this story is. This story, and this is not even the only inconsistency. There's so many inconsistencies. There's inconsistencies in tone. There's inconsistencies in character. Like Hazel's literally only exists to just have his backstory be made fun of. It's so dull and I don't know. There's interesting. There's inconsistencies in plot points. I mean, that's what happens when you have someone who only sees writing fan fiction as a job rather than, I don't know, a fun hobby, which what fan fiction should be. That's just me. Characters. This is another issue I have with the story. Every single character, with the sole exception of Cinder and Salem, are either regressed, made massively inconsistent. Glinda and Ironwood, regret, or just made one-dimensional running gags. So, like with Blake, okay, Blake in the first story, okay, acts as is pretty much the secondary main character of the story because the author likes writing Blake. In this story, she just basically turns in a running gag where like, look, the white thing, where's the white thing? It's like, I literally did it to prove my point that you will just ignore everything in favor of the white thing. I do not white thing. Where? Shh. And it's just a waste of a character. Neil character introduced to a love interest. Roman's just there. John, the main character, is just a one-dimensional piece of nothing. Like in Professor Arc, he starts out as like just a generic guy, and then he gets, thanks to being with Neo and Roman, he gets street smarts. So he knows how to play unfairly, cheat, lie, steal, and all that. He learns a lot of street smarts, and he applies that to a variety of situations. In this story, he just regresses back to the begin, how he acted at the beginning of the first story. Always doubting himself, believes that, oh, I have to keep this whole thing a secret, despite the fact it doesn't even matter. Always saying, oh, everyone's better than me. I can when the story shows that you're actually really good. You're just, because Neo basically give you a crash course, so you're as good as a high second, third year student. Even Glinda is who is played a big part in Professor Arc because of the whole romance thing, is more or less reduced to just a nothing character. And even the whole romance aspects between John and Glinda are completely thrown out in favor of a harem. Because the author, of course, a harem has to exist. and he doesn't want any of them. And even the whole reasoning behind them breaking up is just completely wasted, because at the end of Professor Arc 1, the reason they break up is due to the simple fact that Glinda didn't like the fact mentally that she essentially slept with a minor. Basically, a big part of why they broke up between the penultimate chapter of Professor Arc 1 and the final chapter of Professor Arc 1 is Glinda couldn't get over the simple fact that John was a minor. And that's fine. You can, they said, okay, we'll see again once you actually, can get of age. However, big chunk of Headmaster arc showcases that she never really let go of the age issue. Basically, like, oh, you lied about your age. You're 17. Glinda's like 34 in the story. Glinda just couldn't move past the age. It's like, okay, so it's going to be like an age issue. Like she just couldn't get over the fact that she essentially committed pedophilia. Like that's, and she didn't like that. Of course, she didn't know in the first story. She thought he was 20, so she simply didn't know. And then right when they break up, the author goes like, "Oh yeah, he was legal the entire time." So one, why make that a major problem in the first place? Because you don't mention anything about the relationship besides the age. But where was the whole age? Like 17 is legal in bail at any point in the story before the very same chapter they break up, and then all of a sudden Ruby, Yang, Neo, and Cinder, because Cinder's crazy, all say like, "Please sleep with us, John." To the point where like even like 10 years later, they're all like hilariously thirsty for him. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Like grammar errors. I'm gonna move on to characters before I pop a vessel. Grammar errors. This is probably the worst story he's written that has grammars. I know he's a journalist, so kind of bad grammar, kind of expecting it, because trying to rush everything, they usually don't have time to proofread. That's just what I know from like journalists. They tend to have to rush to get like headlines and stuff off. So, God damn it. My mind keeps going back to like all the inconsistencies. I'm going to go off on a tangent real quick. It is so hard to actually properly review the story, because as I was reading the story, I literally spent half the time just trying to getting myself headaches, because I couldn't make heads or tails of what was happening. It is so massively inconsistent that I was getting headaches from this, and I had to take Advil and Aleve and all that, because what even is the story half the time? Okay, I calm down. Grammar's bad. The sentence structure is bad. The pacing is absolutely horrendous. Like, it's so unnecessarily fast in like the worst places, and also weirdly meandering in places where it really shouldn't, because the author is trying to drag out what I think is like his favorite trope, and that is the two dialogues, one conversation trope, or is it one conversation, two dialogues trope, where like one person saying everything, and then everyone's just kind of doing their own interpretation of what they're saying, which worked in Professor Arc 1 because that was a comedy story. This is not a comedy story. I just realized I'm still on this page. This is still a comedy story. This is not a... Headmaster Arc should never have been a comedy story. Professor Arc 1 had the benefit of being a comedy story. That was primarily a humor story. This is primarily a very serious story, and the author is still using this trope as as a comedic tool in the most tone deaf way possible. Even like a lot of the humor is like very bad because one, a lot of the humor is purpose for making fun of actual aspects of RWBY. Look, I don't like RWBY as much as I don't like post Volume 3 RWBY. But even I wouldn't go as far as to sabotage your story to deliberately mock it. If you want to mock it, that's fine. You have the omake chapters, which are oops, I hate that. Yeah. Yeah, right here. These are omake chapters, which are meant to be more humorous chapters. These are fine. Like these are actually fine to be more humorous because they're not meant to be connected to the story. They're just supposed to be one-off gags. I can buy that. But when you're actively adding all these little digs towards the show, because this story has weirdly a lot of digs, a big part of the first part of the plot is revolving around just poking fun of how badly an idea plot wise Osmond's plan post Volume 3, and when Team RWBY goes to help out Osmond and Mistral, how bad an idea that is. You can't make this shit. You can't. I can't make this shit up any more than I want to. It is horrendous. Hell, Hazel's entire character is literally just poking fun of his backstory. Oh, my sister got killed by Grimm, so I'm going to work for the lady who controls the Grimm because I've been bad. Oh, by the way, my backstory didn't come out until Volume 8. Yeah, that makes sense. It's nothing about this story works except for the very beginning of the story and very end of the story. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I have enough talk. I'm actually starting to get a headache from talking about the story. That's how aggravating this fic was. Would I recommend this story? No. This story is bad. Is it as bad as Forged Destiny? Hell fucking no. Forged Destiny is like is just an entirely different level of bad altogether. This story is bad. That story is worse. Would I have a favorite part? Yes, actually. I actually liked Salem's character at the end. Salem had inconsistencies too, but they're minor because she does show up in the early parts of the story, but she's more like a flat character in those moments. So I can forgive the whole inconsistencies because you could easily interpret it as like Salem having to do with the same. Salem just being a nothing characters. You kind of parlay that and hope people forget about it. I don't, but it works. And Salem at the end becomes this more very affable goofball, but also like very tragic because in this story, Salem's suffering from like clear depression, but she can't die. But she's so immortal, she can't die. So she's like waging war on Vale because it's like, oh, I now someone actually might have a chance to actually kill me, so I'm gonna wage war in the hopes that they actually do the deed. And we even get like her reintroduction because two different Salems of her just calmly walking up to the Vales, pulling out some like a little tiny pair of glasses and getting like a gigantic roll of paper. It's like, you shall surrender the city of Vale. What would she say? Say no. It's like, okay. No. Oh. Are you sure? Yes. um, well, okay. We shall now invade you. Be prepared for war. And then she just starts using like oldie catapults to just throw Grims into Bale, and they're actually died on impact because like, oh yeah, big gigantic Grim flying at terminal velocity into the ground. Yeah, to the point where like all the hunters and huntresses are like they're just having picnics and just watching everything, and they get like a little moment like, oh, parlay, parlay, and John actually starts just to talk to Salem, and we get like an actually compelling character arc and character development from Salem, like showcasing the fact that while she's doing this, she's ultimately just doing it because she's trying to find something to do and try and have some kind of meaning because she's been so depressed for so long. She doesn't. The only time she's even like remotely happy is when she's focusing on something and has something to do. And the whole character arc is like everyone just trying to not only cheer her up because they know that they can't really kill her, so it's like we'll give you meaning again. We'll show you that you can to explore and show that life, to see what life is like. And and they give her like all these gifts, like wine and TV shows and books, just to give her something. Like Salem obviously openly admits that she knows that they're ploys. Like Hazel calls her out, like, yes, I know they're ploys. So why doing this? Like, because however reluctant that our boy is, he is right. And you get like a little sad moment at that moment where like Salem's just like lounging around outside her tent watching TV and just completely dead inside, just watching everything. It's like, ha ha, just trying to enjoy something and starting to, and Hazel's questioning her, and she's realizing that maybe Ark is right, and maybe I should abandon this because of everything that happened. And it's a very great character, and she even fits like the old style of in Professor Ark, where she's like still a comedy character. Like there's a part in the raid where she literally dons a bunch of armor, climbs up the walls of Vale with a greatsword, and just starts challenging everyone around her to a duel. It's like, I challenge you all to a duel. Like, Salem, what are you doing? It's like, I'm bored. I want our talks. Our talk is. I got bored waiting for the next talk, so I want to do something to just wait it out. It's like, oh, I challenge you to do a duel. It's like, yes, thank you. And then they even duel, and even like creative. Even like John kind of devolves back, like changes into like his character from the end of Professor Ark for this moment where like he wisely he knows that he ain't gonna be able to beat Salem. He really really knows, like, okay, I'm gonna try knocking her out. That ain't working. All right, and so kind of slowly lures her away from the area to where they do the initiation, and he gets her to walk on the launch pads, and then she just basically knocks her out of the arena through launching her into the forest. It's like, okay, no, I have to abide by my word. And and even like the epilogue like reveals that she's literally just wandering around, just taking the sights. Like, she's immortal, she can do whatever she wants. So it's like she's just gonna wander around, and even the implications that she's actually kind of befriending Ozpin. It's like she's starting to let go of that grudge at the end and just enjoy life. I think not only is it a good character, but it also touches upon a very sentimental reason to me. Like I always believe in the idea that you could solve a lot of issues in life nowadays, especially when it comes to depression, by just talking to someone. It's like even if you can't offer anything to help, sometimes with these people with depression, they just need someone to talk to. That's all they need. And I think Salem's character perfectly encapsulates that idea, that Salem's just so depressed because she's had no one really to talk to, and Osmond just completely overblown her attitude for like thousands of years because he's always trying to prepare for like keep her on her tail to try and defeat her and ultimately prevent the brother gods from coming, and Salem's like, I want to. Just the idea that Salem basically loses not through like combat or anything, but just finding something that she hasn't had in so long, a friend and someone to talk to in John Arc. It's a very touching way to end the story. As much as I give crap to the bulk of the story, I would at least say go to the just skip all the way to where the raid happens around like chapter around chapter 70 something to the end, like chapter 70 to 88, where the raid happens somewhere on there, and just read Salem. It's like it's her character is very touching. It's very sad. It's obviously well done. It's very obvious that the author actually put time into this part, and I don't really have anything more to say about her. It's like, come on, it's just it actually made me feel sorry for Salem. I know she's not supposed to be like that canonically, but come on, if you can make me feel sorry for someone who's like supposedly unredeemable like Salem, you did good. So this has been Headmaster Arc. I will see you next time on my 500th fanfiction review. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.